What's going on, y'all? It's your boy KC Fowler, one half of the Fowlers podcast, host of the Melanin Warriors podcast. Thanks everybody for going ahead and subscribing and checking out the ancient gods of Egypt or the Neteru. So since we covered the Neteru, we're gonna have to jump into the royalty of Egypt, and we're starting with the Pharaoh Ramses the First.
Let's go.
Ramses the First, Pharaoh of the 19th Dynasty, guys. So he was originally called Pharoah and was not born of royal birth. Instead, he was born into a noble military family from the region of the Delta Nile. He was the son of a commander by the name of Seti. Ramses the First found favor with Horemheb, the last pharaoh of the 18th dynasty. I know. I skipped the whole dynasty, but don't worry, we're going to jump back to that eventually. So since he had favor with the 18th dynasty pharaoh, Ramses was given the role of high priest of Set. He was then tasked to restore the old spiritual system following the Amarna heresy, which was the religion created by Akhenaten, which we'll talk about him in a later episode. So since Horemheb did not have any children, he named Ramses the heir in his final years. Because he was a great administrator and he also had a son and grandson to avoid any issues of succession down the line, man. And I mean, wow, looking through to the future is just amazing by this pharaoh, who we will also talk about in future episodes. So when Ramses became pharaoh, he took on a prenomen or royal name, which was Menpatiri, which means established by the strength of Ra. But of course, he is better known by his nomen, Ramses, which basically translates to Ra bore him. Ramses was already old when he took over the role as pharaoh. He appointed his son Set the First to be crown prince and chosen successor. While being the crown prince, he was in charge of several military operations during this time period, to include an attempt to get back some Egyptian possessions lost in Syria. While Ramses focused more on domestic affairs to include completing the second pylon, and a pylon is basically a monumental gate of an Egyptian temple. So he was working on creating that. That was began by Ramses the First's predecessor, which we already mentioned who he was. And like I said, his story is coming soon also. Ramses the First did not reign long, and after Egyptologists dug his tomb up, it was said that he was buried in a hurry, and they put together his tomb like really, really quickly. Why? I don't know. The priest Manetho assigned him as reigning for 16 months before passing. Before he died, these same historians that say he was buried in a hurry say the only action that King Ramses I carried out during his time as pharaoh was the endowments of a Nubian temple at Buhin. Well, not the most glamorous of Melanin warriors, but his story is still important to know because he was the beginning of some very interesting and controversial reigns of the pharaohs that follow him. Join me next week as we dive into the son of Ramses the First, Seti the First. And like always, if you don't stand for something, you're gonna fall for anything. Ashe.
Let's go.